Hi, this is Johnny Whitaker, and you're listening to TV Confidential.
His boss thinks he's a jerk. His wife doesn't know he's alive. But Warren Coogee is about to become famous.
Ed Robertson welcoming you back to TV Confidential radio talk show about television. We'll continue our conversation we started last week about the release of Three-Cornered Circle. The latest book released by Robert Crane and Christopher Fryer that is a screenplay adaptation of one of the most interesting and most intriguing subplots of Bob and Chris's book, Crane, Sex, Celebrity, and My Father's Unsolved Murder, that tells the story of how Bob lands the job of a lifetime when comedian and motion picture superstar John Candy hires Bob as his publicist and personal confidant circa 1985-1986, a time when Bob was married to landscape designer Kari Hildegrand. Kari had a very successful career and a husband in Bob who loved her, but when she is diagnosed with cancer, everything suddenly changed. Both Bob and Kari had to decide what was important in life and how to figure out how to balance life, career, and marriage, all while facing the imminent realities of mortality. Three-Cornered Circle is available wherever books are sold through Kill Fee Publishing. You can find it at Amazon.com. It's in paperback. It's an ebook. It's available in all the various ways books are available. Robert Crane is the co-author along with Christopher Fryer. Meagan Bejar is the managing editor. The designer of the book, John Cerney, did the cover art for Three-Cornered Circle, as well as some of the other illustrations that appear throughout the book. And we are talking to Bob, John, and Meagan on location at Davenport's restaurant in Encino, California. That will explain why you may hear sirens or the wind pick up or other sort of ambient noises. We had the conversation outside in the back patio, on the back patio of Davenport's restaurant. As Bob mentioned earlier in our conversation, the release of Three-Cornered Circle was done to commemorate the life and career of John Candy. Later on this hour, we'll hear again from Chris Fryer, Bob's collaborator on Three-Cornered Circle and other books on movies and television. Chris will share a few funny stories about some of the encounters he and Bob experienced together with John Candy, including a funny occurrence that happened while he and Bob and John Candy and Bob Costas were all stuck in traffic together on the Garden State Parkway in New Jersey. Christopher Fryer joining us by telephone later on in this hour. Bob is... Oh,
you'll appreciate
okay.
That.
John Cerney also designed the logo for Kill Fee Publishing, which is the company through which the book is available. Okay, all right. This is now I know what a kill fee is in publishing. But there's a knife through.
It's a manuscript.
It's the manuscript of the Crane book.
Of course, there should be blood. When he approached me for I'm a very representational kind of artist, and when he threw that name at me, Three-Cornered Circle, it was an abstract thought to me. I didn't quite know what to do with that. I think I sat on it for several nights, and then I think Bob gave me a little pressure. So, let's go, So I said, I got to do the portraits of the three main figures. And then I said, well, let's add some other elements into it. I gave it a circle, but there's 6 or 7 little items that are probably a little mysterious to people when they first look at that. The witch's hat, well, you got to read the book to get that. That's very interesting. And John liked in the afternoon having a cocktail.
Yes, he did.
Maybe before 5 o'clock,
and sometimes while sitting in the passenger seat of the car.
That's why Kari would be upset. Bob wasn't getting home at 5:30. Maybe he's getting home at 8:30 or 9. Yeah, but I participated in some of those afternoons at Frostback Studio on Beverly Glen or wherever it was. No, it was a fun place to be. Yeah. In fact, this is interesting. As an artist, John would get asked to do all kinds of things, charities. Can you whip off a little doodle for us that we can auction off for a charity? John didn't want to do it. He saw me. John Cerney's in the house. John, get over here. Whip out a couple of little things for me. Oh, Jesus! I was on the clock, which I did. But yeah, that was fun. But then the commissions I did for John, his wife Rose got some editorial input into it. So John was a big guy. So you flatter them as much as you can, but it still has to look like John Candy. Well, she would take me aside and say, do we really need 3 chins? Can we can we tone that down to...
Good wife.
Yeah.
I was going to say, she's in the John Candy business.
Yeah.
They wouldn't say this in the 80s and early 90s, but she was protecting the brand.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And what am I going to say? You bet, Rose. Yeah, we can whittle that down. Yeah.
John and Bob, you both knew John Candy very, very well. Bob, you worked with him pretty much every day, especially during that first year. And even within the confines of 120 pages, you give us a real three-dimensional picture of who John was as a person.
John Candy was basically what you see on screen, the sweetest guy who would take care of you. He, like planes, trains in that character's odd way. He's trying to take care of Steve Martin, and he would do anything for you. He would, besides money, I don't know, pick up your favorite lunch or something. But it's not just a lunch. It's going to be, $500 worth of food and deliver it to you and thinking about you and blah, blah, blah. That was John Candy. Basically what you see is what you get on screen, except for JFK. JFK does a great cameo as a real person.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting the character's name.
Dean Andrews.
And he's got the big scene with Kevin Costner in JFK. He played a weasel, a bad guy, and he does it great. I love watching JFK now.
Yeah, and what one imagines that had he lived, what one would hope he would have more opportunities to do those sorts of characters. Because even in the early days when he was doing SCTV, which is how you first met John, because that was one of the you interviewed him and the cast, Playboy magazine. But every show, John, Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hara, Andrea Levy, whose name was Andrea Martin, they would play 5-6 different characters per show. So that's great training for an actor.
Oh yeah, He originally came from Second City, as many of the SCTV people did, and that was a Toronto company, Chicago company, and then they had a Pasadena company briefly in a shopping mall or something. It didn't make it, but one of my favorite stories, he is in the Toronto company. There's a who's who of people in the future that you'll hear about working there. He gets traded like a baseball player to the Chicago company. So what's he going to say? No? Yeah, of course. He likes Chicago. He's going to go to Chicago. He's backstage. It's the first night that he's in the company. He's walking down the hallway backstage. He hears, "Hey, new guy." He looks around. "Yeah, you, new guy." So he backs up. There's an open door on a bathroom, and Betty Thomas, the actress, director, future director,
Hill Street Blues, most of us know her as.
Hill Street Blues, is sitting on the toilet. And she just wants to say hi to John because he's the new guy in the company. And that's what he comes from. I mean, no inhibition. And the thing that I follow, one of the things about John, yes and. Yes and. That's a Second City philosophy. It Meagan may be able to tell us. It might have started somewhere else. But yes and I take that in my life now, where someone says something to you, instead of going, no, that's not right, you go, okay, and then, but you add to it. And that's a major thing I learned from John. Do you have the...
I think that's pretty much a big thing in improv in general. I think it's the idea is to keep people from getting stuck. So you have to take what's thrown at you and, like you said, add something to it. So,
My actor friends would say, they would add the word commitment in describing that. Whether you're playing a scene, whether you're supposed to be an interviewer interviewing 3 people outside against a noisy restaurant, whatever choices you make in the moment, you commit to that choice and see where that goes. And in the case of improv, you commit to a choice and you trust that your actor partner, you trust whatever choice they make, and then you see where that takes you in the scene you're supposed to act out and improvise. Betty Thomas' Hey New Guy story is captured in 3 Corner Circle, the new, it's a screenplay in book form. Robert Crane and Christopher Fryer co-authored 3 Cornered Circle. Meagan Bejar is she designed the book. She's the managing editor. John Cerney did the cover art and some of the other illustrations. We're chatting about the release of the book on location at Davenport's restaurant in Encino, California. 3 Cornered Circle available in paperback and as an ebook, Amazon.com, where the books are sold online. Later on in the hour, we will hear from Chris Fryer, the co-author, along with Robert Crane, of 3 Cornered Circle. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call Karen Strain at 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.
One more item. If you're starting a company, particularly one that is in an emerging market, you know that averting any sort of legal dispute is crucial to your business plan. Our friends at Tectonic Law offer an array of services that can help you avoid and preempt future litigation while also developing and protecting your intellectual property and intangible assets. Tectonic Law serves the needs of a host of emerging industries throughout California and beyond, including industrial designers, beverage makers, artists, farmers, retail stores, health practitioners, wellness experts, cosmetics manufacturers, nonprofit organizations, innovators in sustainable practices, and libraries. Go to tectoniclaw.com to learn more about how Tectonic Law can help your business thrive. tectoniclaw.com. Rock solid representation for groundbreaking industries.
Hi, this is Dean Butler. You're listening to TV Confidential.
Okay, let's take them. Now, wait a minute. I've never even heard these boys sing. All right?
All right. They're not going no place.
All right, cover all exits. Let's go. Come on, hurry up. Who wants an orange whip? Orange whip? Orange whip? 3 orange whips.
Now, John, you mentioned a little earlier, you mentioned how people would come up with John and try to get him to do a lot of different things, and sometimes he would and sometimes he wouldn't. There's a story you capture in 3 Cornered Circle. I forget the name of the foundation, but Scleroderma, and it was I think he was filming Uncle Buck at the time. And PM Magazine, which is no longer in operation, but it was a major syndicated talk show on the Group W stations, back in the day. They wanted John to do a sit-down on-camera interview, and there's a scene that you capture in 3 Cornered Circle that really gives you a picture of who John Candy was as a person.
Yeah. The whole reason that John did this is because he loved this woman, Sharon, who created she unfortunately had scleroderma. I can't explain. Can you explain? Yeah, I'm not a doctor. I can't really explain it, except it looks like your body's been sapped of everything and your face becomes skeletal. And it's just a horrible thing. And I saw photos of Sharon before. Beautiful woman. She was an attorney, career, family, and then she got scleroderma. There's no way to predict it. So anyway, she and John meet. John goes to San Francisco for a golf tournament for scleroderma to raise money for scleroderma. Plus, he gets to golf with Willie Mays.
Willie Mays and Willie McCovey.
And Willie McCovey, the Giants.
I forgot John was a very good golfer.
Yeah, lefty.
Yeah.
Very good. Loved it. So, we're on location, Uncle Buck, Chicago. Sharon is in town for something else. They decide to get together to promote donating to Scleroderma Foundation. Well, the segment producer of PM Magazine takes one look at Sharon and deems her not worthy of being on a television screen.
Right. She doesn't think she's thinking visually, and she's thinking, okay, that might be repulsive to the viewers at home. But this is where John Candy steps up.
John Candy steps up. They put. He says to the segment producer, "The reason I'm here is because of Sharon. The reason I'm doing this is Sharon." They put the two of them on a couch, set up the cameras. I look at the monitor. She's not even in the shot. She's way off. It's John. They just want John. They're going to cut scleroderma out of this. It's going to be John for 3 minutes. And I tell John talks to the segment producer and says, either Sharon sits right here on the couch next to me, or I don't do it. The segment producer, she has to leave. A phone call to New York. You can only imagine what's going on. Has to come back with her tail between her legs and say, okay, well, Sharon is right on John's hip. And there's no way you're going to get a single shot of John without Sharon being in it, which is the whole point, to talk about scleroderma. That's John Candy.
And that says an awful lot about who he was and how he knew that he could do certain things because he was John Candy. He was that big. To him, it's just another interview.
Yeah.
I don't need to do this,
No.
but he needs. I mean, I'm doing this because I want to bring attention to my friend's foundation, and he made that happen.
Absolutely. Scleroderma Foundation created in San Francisco. She was a San Francisco resident. She eventually wound up in Santa Barbara. Her career folded because she was in pain. It's a painful illness. And the last time I ever saw her, my wife Leslie and I were walking down State Street in Santa Barbara. And I went, Sharon! We went over, we talked to her, and I believe she died in the next 6 months. Anybody listening, check out Scleroderma Foundation.
Scleroderma.org is the website for the National Scleroderma Foundation.
For the people who are going through this ugly, dreaded, unpredictable illness, find out about it.
Scleroderma.org. A couple of things. The scleroderma story is a good example of why John hired you, because it's a cliche to say he hired you to be an extra set of eyes, but that's basically what he hired you to run interference for a lot of the press people, hanger-oners, people who wanted a piece of John while he was in town to shoot Uncle Buck, if I remember correctly. And so he has limited time and limited energy, and he needed someone to look out for him to cut through the riffraff and say, okay, is this something I should do, or can this go in the no or maybe pile?
Yeah. He liked my background writing for magazines and newspapers. I had dealt with press, I had dealt with editors, I had dealt with writers. So he liked that I was now on his side of the desk, guarding, because he wanted to be guarded. As big of a star and as big physically as he was, he wanted somebody watching his six, as they say in all these shows. I got your six, John. So he liked that. So I flipped over on the other side of the desk with him, and kind of the flip side to that, though. At the end of a week, we got all this stuff set up for the next week. That's Friday. Monday morning, he's had the whole weekend to think about this. Do we really have to do, So sometimes I had to make phone calls, and people would yell, "This is the most unprofessional thing I've ever dealt with." I said, "I'm sorry, John, he can't do it. Something's come up, and we can't." So that was the flip side. But I would say about 9 out of 10 things he did do. It was a rare instance when he bailed out for whatever reason.
Another way in which you all capture the human being behind John Candy in Three Cornered Circle, Bob and John and Meagan, is going back to Kari. There are many instances while you're on the road with John. In fact, there was you're in Italy. I think you're in Italy. And you're doing your job. You're John's right-hand man, but Kari the cancer had returned, and while she was a strong woman, and she had issues with some of the other men in her life, and so a part of her said, okay, go, you do your work, I'll be fine. John, he was a big guy, but he was a very sensitive guy. John knew that there are times that you needed to be with Kari.
So I'm sitting there in Rome, come on, pulling a check with John Candy. He's filming a movie at Cinecittà Studios. They've filmed Ben-Hur, Fellini's been there. Come on, this is the best. Lunch, spooling pasta, drinking wine. Come on. Yet he sees it's not good old Bob. Bob is not there 100%. He says, you're going home. I go, what? He goes, you haven't been here since we arrived. You're going back. Kicked me out. I was on a flight next day back to LA to be with Kari.
Because at the end of the day, even though he was larger than life, and there are a lot of examples of the impact he can, but he was still very grounded, down to earth, as you say, what you see, what you got. He knew there are times life is more important than whatever movie we're making right now.
Yeah, and his joke was, all in all, it's just another poster on the wall.
We're talking to Robert Crane, John Cerney, and Meagan Bejar on location at Davenport's restaurant in Encino, California. We're talking about the release of Bob's newest book, along with Christopher Fryer, called Three Cornered Circle, a book that, among other things, commemorates Bob's friendship with John Candy and the years when he and John worked very closely together. We'll talk some more with Bob, Meagan, and John Cerney. We come back here on TV Confidential.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go. And pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-222-0511. 800-222-0511. Again, that's 800-222-0511.